Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 159 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network. Josh Ray joined alongside Nathan Derrick, as per usual. Hope you're staying safe. Hope you're staying dry because we've got some stormy weather in the Vancouver and southern British Columbia, rather, areas. So we're all cooped up inside mostly, and we're here doing this show for you. So this is the first episode of the Vancouver Whitecaps offseason. Obviously, right now, not a lot to talk about. Well, we'll talk about a few things regarding the Vancouver Whitecaps. And Chinese media is once again reporting interest in Ryan Raposo, and he has been linked to China even before the season started. And given now that he's eligible to become a free agent, the rumors of him going to China are ramping up.
I still see this as nothing. I can't see his interest taking him across that way. I guess as a player, it's always nice when other people are showing interest in you.
True.
That's cool. It's, hey, they like me. They want me, But I don't see this as anything else. Maybe in a very small, tiny little way, if this is actually true, his agent can use it to help get him a better contract.
Yeah, maybe it's just leverage.
Yeah.
I don't really see much of this. I didn't really think of much of it back when it first started months ago, but
especially when it said the original report, well, that was I think it was before the season even started last year, where it said that they were going to give him Chinese citizenship so that he could go right into the national team and all this other stuff. And I don't know. It was like they're rolling out more than just a red carpet. So I don't see this. I don't see this happening. Like I said, my hope, and I wrote about this in my article about free agents and club options last week. My hope is that he sticks around with the Whitecaps.
Yeah, and at a reasonable price too, because right now he's going to want to raise from his, I believe it's 150K base salary.
Yeah,
but if he does leave the Whitecaps, I see him signing elsewhere in MLS.
I do too. I don't think he's going to find a home in MLS. I mean, that's a given.
I know there are going to be some people saying, "Oh, he should go to the CPL." I think he's too good for the CPL.
No, he had his best year last year in production. He had his best year in production. He was also one of the most progressive players on the Whitecaps, both in passing and carries. No, he's not going anywhere. Or he's not going anywhere from MLS. The one thing that also helps him with Canada is, being Canadian, you need to have a certain number of Canadian players on the roster. Whitecaps don't really need to worry about that anymore, but it's nice, right? It's a nice thing to have. I made kind of a glib comment that Luis Martins was on 300K a year before his contract was mutually terminated back in August, I believe. And I said, if you can get Raposo for anything below that, do it. If you can get him somewhere between the 200 and the 250 mark, go 2-3 years, put a couple of years on as club options. That's good.
Yeah, I go with that, and we'll see what happens with Raposo and all the other Vancouver Whitecaps free agents. But several Whitecaps players were on international duty this past weekend. One of them, who made his first start ever for Ecuador, is Pedro Vite.
Yeah, he's had a couple of appearances off the bench, but this was his first start, which was surprising. I did not realize that. It was on Thursday, the 4-0 win against Bolivia. He had an assist in the game, three chances created, 4 duels that he won. The one thing that really gets me when it comes to Pedro Vite, 9 passes into the final third.
Yeah.
That's Pedro
93% passing accuracy. Right? Also very impressive.
That's Pedro Vite. That's what you want him to do. So, again, it's like what we talked about with Ali Ahmed, right? Doing it for country. We just do it for club too.
Yeah. Well, Pedro Vite has done it for club. Yeah. It's impressive to see it put up these kind of numbers for his country in his first ever start for Ecuador. Again, I didn't even realize that was his first ever start. Should also worth mentioning that Ryan Gauld and Stuart Armstrong both played for Scotland and came off the bench, and two wins for Scotland as well,
including one that was kind of a last gasp sort of win, I think.
Yeah, for a goal from their fellow former Dundee United teammate Andy Robertson.
Yeah,
that was his first goal for Scotland in like 4 years or something.
Wow.
And Gauld and Armstrong were on the pitch when it happened, so coincidence? I think not.
There you go. It's the Canadian influence into the Scottish national team.
Yeah, and
it's all us.
Also for Paraguay with a big win.
Yes.
Over Argentina, 2-1, and Kubas stood out as well. And there's this really cold picture that the Whitecaps put on their social media of him just battling with Lionel Messi. I'll try to bring it up here. So good for Kubas and good for Paraguay for pulling off a pretty big upset against the world champions and Copa America champions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, here's the photo. 90 minutes for Kubas, 4 interceptions, 5 recoveries, 88% passing accuracy, and he nullified Lionel Messi.
It's not a bad day's work for a defensive midfielder.
Maybe this is why Messi didn't want to come to Vancouver. He's too afraid to play against Kubas.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like to play
I've got over a foot on Kubas.
Yeah. I don't think anyone would at this point.
No, exactly, right?
Right.
I would be somewhat reasonably content in my aerial duels. That's about it.
Yeah, you'd win the aerial duels. That's just about it. But that's the Whitecaps. So, quick stuff for MLS here. As we mentioned last week, 27th of November, a week today, is the deadline for clubs to exercise options and submit bona fide offers. So we'll know whose option was picked up and whose wasn't for the Whitecaps, I think, by the time we record our next episode.
We should, because the deadline option, like we said, it's in a week, and it's at 1 p.m. Eastern, I believe.
Yeah, so we'll probably record just before then or right when it's...
We talked about this a little bit last week about who is up for an option. We can run through it again. Every goalkeeper, Takioka, Bomer, Bendick, are all up for options. All of them have options for one more year. So there is the possibility that, could happen. Go read my article on Area 51.
Yes, it was a very well done article about the options.
In terms of other players, Alessandro Schopf has a 1-year option available. Fafa Picote still has his option. Ralph Prizzo has 2-year option. So there is that. Part of his contract when he came over from Colorado. Levante Johnson. And then as we talked about, Ryan Raposa, who has no options. He's actually he just finished his option year this past season. He's up for free agency, contract renewal, whatever he and his team decides to do. Yep.
There's also a half-day trade window on December 9th. So if the Whitecaps want to make any trades, that's the day to do it.
Yeah, so that trade window comes into effect basically just so teams can solidify rosters a little bit before what comes 2 days later, which is the expansion draft.
For San Diego SC. And that's always interesting. Be interesting to see who the Whitecaps protect and expose and all that.
Yeah.
And
the thing is, you got to remember that when it comes to the expansion draft, there's a lot of other moves that happen right around that as well. Think of LAFC coming in, and that's when the Whitecaps, when Charlotte came in, and that's where the Whitecaps ended up picking up Tristan Blackman.
Yep. And that day is also the college showcase. So any super draft eligibles, it's kind of like a little showcase.
Yeah. So that's for the NCAA.
Not U Sports.
Basically almost like a combine, if you will.
Free.
It's the same day. That is going to take place in San Diego as well. MLS really boosting their new city. And
Makes
yeah,
sense.
the one thing we should talk about with the expansion draft is San Diego is only able to pick five players.
Yeah.
And all the other MLS teams have to have their list of protected players and eligible players ready by the day before, December 10th. So there's not a lot of time for San Diego to take a look at who's available from all the other teams and then, make their picks.
Yeah. And also the day after is the day free agency begins, and then the end of year waiver draft. That's the December 12th.
So there's a 4-hour window where free agency opens.
Yep.
And the end of year waivers start. So there will be possibly a little bit of movement before end of year waivers where, teams are trying to capitalize a little bit beforehand. With the end of year waivers, obviously San Diego, being that they have the expansion draft, they are the last pick in the waiver process.
Yep.
We will pick 30th. Again, we don't necessarily see a whole lot of teams looking at the end of waiver draft.
Well, I don't
usually there's maybe 3 or 4 players.
Yeah, the Whitecaps have been quiet on that waiver draft.
I'm trying to.
I can't think of any player, to be honest.
I'm trying to remember from previous years. Is that how Michael Baldissimo got picked up and went to LAFC?
That's how he went to San Jose. Yeah, but I can't think of anyone they brought in through the waiver draft
I can't
in
recent
years. There's also a re-entry draft stage 1, December 13th, stage 2 on the 19th, and the MLS Super Draft on December 20th, and San Diego will have the first pick.
Yeah. So again, things are moving earlier and earlier and earlier. I mean, you and I remember when the Super Draft was first week of January.
Yeah.
I mean, teams are already reporting back for preseason at that point.
Yeah. More information will be given when the Whitecaps will report from preseason closer to the date where they will go and all that, because they got Champions Cup action like the next month.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Let's also remember that right now the Whitecaps, in terms of how busy the communication staff is doing, they're doing double duty right now because they're also doing the communications for Vancouver Rise and everything that's happening with that team. Rise is hiring their own staff, but they've been concentrating more on the staff to support players right now.
Yeah.
Head coach, player development, player relations and all that. Mm-hmm. They're not worrying about other departments yet. That'll come later once they have that set up, because then those guys can take off in a run in terms of bringing in a team. Yeah.
More news on the Vancouver Rise, hopefully before Christmas.
Hopefully. Before Christmas, I hope so. I mean, there was another player that was just announced today for AFC Toronto. So
yeah.
I mean, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for something.
Yep. So back to MLS. Big news. Just wild news. So Tom Bogert of Give Me Sport, the man with the stash, reports that Tata Martino has left Inter Miami and personal reasons were given as an answer. And this comes after Inter Miami shockingly went out of the first round against Atlanta United.
I am surprised. Supporter Shield, record season.
Record season.
Heading to Club World Cup. Won.
Which was a given. Yeah.
I was basically handed to them after they won.
Supporter Shield, yeah.
Yeah. Although not winning MLS Cup feels like unfinished business. So I kind of thought he might stick around for that. I also think that Tata has been around for so long that there's a lot happening in Miami that he's not accustomed to, because he's not the guy. He's used to being the guy. This is me just speculating, but I'm wondering if he's just a little bit frustrated with the culture.
Maybe. And I think maybe he just felt like, it's not working out for me. Didn't win. See ya. And
he's leaving on a high.
Leaving on a high, but after a massive disappointment. It'll be interesting to see who Miami brings in, given their pull.
It was interesting on The Athletic was speculating, and they said two names that keep popping up are former teammates of Messi that are now in coaching, Javi Hernandez.
Yep,
and Mascherano.
Oh, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Yeah, those were the two names they were speculating. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, we'll see if any one of them would want to come to Miami. Well, Xavi obviously has the more coaching experience, most recently coaching Barcelona. But
I can't see him wanting to go.
I can't see him. Mascherano seems more.
The only way I could see it happening is if Messi gets on the phone and makes a personal plea. But even then, if I'm Xavi, I've got my options.
Yeah, and I remember saying Xavi said that he wanted to take some time off after leaving Barcelona, spend time with his family, which makes sense.
He retired. He came back after 5 months. What's his name? Klopp said he wanted to take a year off. He was back after less than half a year. So I don't know. We'll see how long that lasts.
But Tata Martino, he leaves Inter Miami. Leagues Cup winner in MLS history, but just couldn't get it done when it really mattered. But speaking of MLS coaches, another coach has won Coach of the Year, Wilfred Nancy of Columbus Crew.
I'm trying to remember. Is this his second year in a row?
I think Ben Olsen won it last year.
Oh, was that it?
I believe he was nominated last year, but he didn't win.
Okay. Well, Columbus, another great year. Finished second in the East, 19-9-6 record. 32, a positive 32 goal difference. Best in MLS.
Yeah. But again, knocked out in the first round.
Yeah. But they also won this year. They won
Leagues Cup.
Leagues Cup.
Yeah. And they made it to the final of Champions Cup, but they lost to I can't remember who.
Yeah.
Monterrey, I believe.
Yeah.
One of the teams.
Again, I mean, he's a phenomenal coach. I think this year you had a few different choices. He's an interesting choice, but one that I'm totally fine with.
Yeah, I think I agree with this choice. Great coach, good tactical mind. Of course, CF Montreal fans are probably in shambles, given how much success Nancy had since he left there. But also
he's a player's coach too, right?
Yeah, he's a player's coach, and kind of like Vanny, though not as eccentric. Yeah. But he also has a very good personality as well. So this is a well-deserved award for Wilfred Nancy, and I have no doubt that he and the Crew will bounce back next season.
Absolutely.
So,
all right, let's get to some actual games.
Yeah, Canada men's national team have taken care of business against Suriname in the CONCACAF Nations League, and it was just a job well done by them. First leg, which happened on Friday. This one I described as scrappy, but a win is a win, no matter how well you take it. Because, I mean, it was like, 38 degrees down in Suriname?
I wouldn't be surprised.
During that day or something. But Canada adapted well to the conditions, but problems in the final third. Being good build-up, just couldn't score. Corner kicks, free kicks were just poor. Tani Oluwaseyi had a good chance in that first half, but he hit both posts. The double doink, as they call it in the NFL. But Canada were poised to score during that game. They were doing a lot of things right, and it took them a while to do it, because in the second half, it looked like they were running out of gas after just dominating the first half.
Yeah.
The veteran, a man who has been associated with Canada for many, many years, Junior Hoylett, he saves the day with a goal off the bar in the 81st minute after a great pass from Jonathan David, and that turned out to be the only goal of leg one.
Not bad, Woodsy. 34 years old, still going. Like, of that old guard that you're starting to see that shift, he still is kind of there. And I think this was his first game being called back up from Jesse Marsh's very first game.
Yeah, that's what they said. And that was his first goal in like 2 years or whatever it was.
Wow. I think he's got 17, 18 for a country, something like that.
Yeah, he's
in
that
there. Top 5 list.
Yeah. But the first leg, Moise Bombito on the back line. They did their job. Alistair Johnson was all over the place. That first half in particular, when Suriname tried to break out, he was there to stop it.
Alistair Johnson is one of those guys that has taken his move to Celtic by the horns. And I mean, he's sometimes he's the captain of that squad.
Yeah, he's an everyday starter for Celtic.
You got to wonder how long is it until he makes a move to England.
There have been rumblings, I think, a couple of weeks ago a few months ago, that he might move to the Premier League sooner or later.
Well, they were talking about the kind of the rotation roller coaster with is Kyle Walker's time done at Manchester City? Then they're looking at Pedro Porro, which means Tottenham is looking elsewhere. And one of the names that did come up, it was kind of fleeting, but Alistair Johnson's name did come up mainly because of Postecoglou's association
connection with Celtic.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think they're not the only team. I bet you other teams have them on.
There'll be a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. That first leg, St. Clair didn't have a busy game, but
there was no shots on target for Suriname.
No shots on target, but he was there.
Shots. They only had 2 shots the entire game, and both of them came in the second half. Like in the first half, you're right, Canada dominated.
Yeah, first leg was a scrappy, but a job well done. But last night, fortunately, I couldn't write a post game because I had some issues at home. But we'll just talk about it here. This will be the post game. 3-0 win at BMO Field. One-way traffic. That's one way to describe last night's game. Just utter domination from Canada. The Maple Press, as Alex Gonge-Ruzic once called it, active. Suriname could not break out of their own half for many, many parts of that first half in particular.
Yeah.
Larea and Schaffelberg were making life difficult for Suriname on that left side. Johnston was doing his thing on the right. And Canada scored earlier this time. Jonathan David pounced on the loose ball after Suriname just couldn't clear to save their lives. And he surpasses Kyle Larin as the men's all-time leading goal scorer for now.
For now, yeah. It'll go back and forth.
Yeah, for 10-plus years.
Yeah. Schaffelberg grabs a brace himself. Halftime, it was 2-0. He gets another one late in the second half. You mentioned the left-hand side with Schaffelberg and Larea. When I saw the original lineup and I saw Larea on the left, I was kind of wondering, but it really worked because
the first leg too.
The overlap, instead of Larea as a fullback running on the outside, he cut inside.
Yeah.
And Suriname didn't know what to do with him. I thought it was an excellent use by Marsh of Richie Larea to let Larea be Larea, like to be that disruptor, but also how well he worked cutting inside so that he's not only working with Schaffelberg, but the midfielders as well.
Yeah, you saw Larea cut inside and overlap with Schaffelberg. Both were even trying to cut in many parts over the 2 legs. And Schaffelberg, the second goal, Bombito, got a credit to him for that. The way he just moved up and disrupted the high line by Suriname. Just clearing the ball, and Schaffelberg just making no mistake on the breakaway. And then Schaffelberg again for his second goal, taking Laren's cross and just slotting it home. Give props to Moise Bombito. Again, this guy was off the radar a year and a half ago. Now he's playing for Nice.
He scored, but unfortunately, it was offside. But that would have been his
foul
first.
By Johnson.
Yeah. Moise Bombito
he's become one of the most important players.
Yeah.
For the men's national team.
We also got to remember the players that were not a part of this squad. And yes, we can talk about Alphonso Davies, but I want to talk about Derek Cornelius and how Bombito was working with Kamal Miller. Another great pairing. Miller, big body, strong guy.
Bandaged up last night, taking some
bandaged up.
hits.
Yeah, his head was pretty bandaged, and he went down a number of times afterwards as well. But those two players worked really well together as well, and it's nice that there's a bit of a group forming when it comes to defensive minded players.
Yeah, and as I said, Bombito's become a key part of this Canada team. Like his size, his speed, like the way he disrupted Suriname's high line, the way he prevented their transitions, though there were some nervy moments in the second leg with the transitions, but he handled it really, really well. And also should mention Jonathan David. Since Copa America, he has looked like, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat this, like one of the best in the world. Like, forget the goal scoring. Even with Lille and with Canada, you see his creativity put on display. I don't think we've seen him this creative ever. Because last night
it's freedom, right? It's the freedom to do what he can do.
Because he's roaming around in the two-striker system.
Yeah.
And unlike where he tries to roam by himself, he and Laren are moving back together, not one at a time, like we saw in Copa America. And I think that change benefited him because there's less pressure off him. And he has more ability to create and score because the build-up play from him, he was the conductor against Suriname in these two legs.
He likes to drop back, right? He likes to have the ball, not just be the guy with the final touch. Right now, the two-striker system really suits him in being able to do that. Yeah,
and there's no surprise that he's being linked to the biggest clubs in the world. And the latest right now is Barcelona, which he stated, Barcelona is a dream club. So performances like this are only going to increase the eyes on him. And the fact that he's going to go for a free next summer is a bonus because if he wasn't, David would go probably for 40, 50, 60 million pounds or euros.
Yeah. He's going to be a hot commodity in January. In January, teams are going to be looking at him to sign him for the summer. I don't know where that's going to be, but I'm curious. I still have reservations about his ability to play in the Premier League.
I do too.
But Italy?
Spain? Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah. Though we'll see if he is gonna be, I'm sure he's gonna be linked to more Premier League clubs. I know he's been linked to several of them over the years, but I feel like Man United will be a much more linked team now, especially with Ruben Amorim as their new manager, and the fact they really, really need a proper number 9.
Yeah.
I think United will be pushing to sign Jonathan David in the next year or so, but it'll be interesting to see how he progresses.
It'll be interesting to see if they go that way, especially with how much they're also pushing for Alphonso Davies.
Yeah. Oh, could you imagine both of them at Old Trafford? Would
it'd be weird. There's two Canadians on the team, but I still can't cheer for them.
Yeah. Both of them could even end up at Barcelona.
Yeah. I guess stranger things have happened. I mean, Davies camp still wants Real Madrid, but they seem very coy on saying anything.
Yeah.
I still think they'll be around. They'll be around in January. It'll be.
Yeah. I think they'll leave in the summer. They're not leaving in January.
Yeah.
La Marca, known for being pretty unreliable, reported that Davies and Real Madrid came to an agreement, but Davies' agent pretty much shot that down.
Yeah.
So David, the Iceman, Johnny on the spot, whatever you want to call him, great first two legs. He's really evolving as a player. And also give plaudits to Steven Estacchio and Matthew Chouanier, because those two just were cooking in the midfield last night, winning all the duels. Well, not all, but most of them. Progressive passes, just disrupting Suriname. Props to Chouanier, too. Mm-hmm. He isn't really a starter every day for Canada, but he's making a case that he could be a regular starter in the future.
He's putting pressure on other players within that midfield,
Kone.
and that's great. That's great. I want to see that. I want to see competition. I want to see legitimate competition, people fighting for spots. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. And
we haven't had this for so long. Like, I remember back in the day when, 3 or 4 of the players called up to the Canadian men's national team were for unattached FC.
Yeah. And Schaffelberg too, like the way he has risen over the past year. And those who've listened to this podcast, read my articles, know that I've been high on this guy for a while now, and it's good to see him become a key player for Canada. Like ever since Copa America, he's impressed. The brace last night, and sure, his league play with Nashville could be better.
Yeah,
only 2 goals, and I think that's just about it.
Yeah,
and though I haven't watched much Nashville games, but Nashville were a pretty poor team last year.
You're not wrong, but if he is going to attract the interest that a lot of Canadians thought or hoped that he's going to, he's got to show it for his club.
Yes. We've said the same thing for Ali Ahmed and his play with the Whitecaps. So maybe it won't be in January, maybe it won't be next summer, but it just feels like it's a matter of time before Schaffelberg leads Nashville.
It does. It does. If not for Europe, at least a stronger team in MLS, which might be then a launching off point.
Yeah. A debut last night for Jamie Knight LaBelle, a center back, 19 years old, from Montreal. He is on loan at Crew Alexandra, on loan from Bristol City. Okay. This is a guy that keep an eye on. He's got potential.
You also had, rare appearances, but appearances nonetheless. Theo Bair, Nico Sigur.
Yeah.
So, looking at that bench, trying to get these players game time. And good game time, like game time in competitions, not just friendlies.
Yeah, and the Nations League actually means something here. So
it does. And we also now have the set for the semifinals that'll be coming up in March. Canada will be playing Mexico. Mexico, who came back after losing the first leg 2-0, 4-0 win to advance.
Yeah, and
Honduras, who was forced to play behind closed doors after some moron threw a beer can against
a beer can at the Mexico
coach's head. And then the other leg will be the United States. Other side of the bracket. The United States versus Panama.
Yeah, and here it is. So Canada is leading on points and goal differential, which is nice to see. So Canada, Mexico, USA, Panama, and the semifinals rather, will be on March 20th, the next international window, the first leg. And then the third place match and final will be the following weekend, as you can see. I don't remember thinking somewhere in the United States. It doesn't really say it here.
So looking at that, semifinals are single game knockouts?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
And it looks like Canada will host it, given that they're the higher seed.
Really?
I don't know. It doesn't even say where these games will be played.
It's March. Put it back in Edmonton.
Yeah, why not?
There's still snow there in March. Come on.
Yeah. Somebody's saying it's SoFi Stadium, but I'll figure that out later.
Cool.
So, Canada got the job done against Suriname, and also going to bring up one thing here. It looks like the advanced stats from the game against Suriname are out. This is worth mentioning. Share screen here again. 2.9 to 0.36 in XG, 21 final third recoveries. Most they've had in any game under Marsh. Yeah, last night was G across both legs.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. Well, the first leg could have been more, but
The first leg
we'll
was tough. Environment played a hand in that. I think you also got to give credit to Suriname. They had a great crowd. I think they announced 6,500 came out to the first leg match, and I didn't get to watch the whole game, unfortunately. Running around kid and all their activities,
all that.
But the grass. I think they were playing on turf, but the turf looked pretty decent.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine how hot it was, though.
Yeah, I melt at anything over 25. So 38, forget it. I'm done.
Yeah. So this was the last competitive game, or last game in general, for the men's national team in 2024. And let's not forget, we began 2024 with a lot of qualify for Copa. Well, they did, thanks to beating Trinidad and Tobago after, going out last year in the same competition against Jamaica.
Yeah, at this stage.
At this stage. A year ago, we spent almost 40 minutes just ranting about the state of Canada, I remember.
Also got to remember that Canada was ahead in that tie, and Jamaica came back in the second game. The second half of the second game, scored 3 goals.
Yeah, and they found the best manager available that they could realistically get in Jesse Marsh. And in his first few months, he took them to the semifinals of the Copa America. We saw the emergence of Moise Bombito and Jacob Schaffelberg. We've seen several players as well. We saw Derek Cornelius move to Ligue 1, and we saw progression for the men's national team. Lots of progression. And we've seen debutantes like Nico Segur and Knight Labelle. Marsh has really implemented a new culture, a new standard. The bar is raised for Canada, and next year it's silverware or bust.
Well, it's no longer being happy that Canada's progressing. It's no longer happy that they've hit, say, that top 50 mark. Now it's you've got to what's the next level? What's the next level? And they're finding it.
Yeah, and
it's also, we no longer want to get to the end of competitions. We want to win something.
Yeah, we want to win.
Yeah, it's been a long time. 2000 for the men's team.
To put that into perspective. And there's also the Gold Cup next year, which Canada qualified for after beating Suriname. So 2 chances to win trophies next year.
Great.
And that will be great heading into the 2026 World Cup. So overall, a year that began with uncertainty for the men's national team has ended with a lot of positive stuff to take away. And let's hope 2025 will be even better.
Absolutely. All right, let's move over to the women's side because we have new dates for a couple of friendlies coming up. November 29th, the women will be playing Iceland, and on December 3rd, they'll be playing South Korea. Now, there was a lot of work to try and get at least one of these games in Canada. They were actually looking for a West Coast place. Could not work, and a lot of it has to do with the travel of trying to get other teams to come here. It's a very difficult thing to do. So these 2 games are going to be played on neutral ground again. Same thing happened last window that the women played, and it's going to be back in Murcia, Spain. So
neutral ground, but good opponents for Canada to play, just to get tuned up for next year and to finish the year hopefully off strong.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think of what these teams are ranked right now. I know Canada is ranked 10th. Iceland is 14th, so not too far down. And South Korea is 20th. So
okay, so that's pretty much in their ballpark.
Yeah.
So we'll see how Canada does in both those games.
There you go.
All right. Not much going in Europe since it's still international break. Chelsea play Leicester City, destined for relegation as many predicted, and right now they sit 15th, just a few points above the relegation Enzo Maresca will make his return to Leicester after leaving them last year and getting them promoted last year. But there's a midfield conundrum because apparently Romeo Lavia has hurt his hamstring again.
Hooray!
On today or tomorrow, or just returning from international duty, it may not be 100%. So there is a headache from Maresca here, but he has hinted that Lavia may still be able to play, as the hamstring isn't that serious. We'll see what happens. Also, the cold boot from Lisandro Martinez, and he missed the England window to recover. So we'll see there. But the women played this weekend, beat Man City 2-0 to still be undefeated, 7-0-0 in the Women's Super League. Despite not having much possession, Chelsea just managed to. We have 2 second-half goals. Rattan is second in the WSL scoring with 5. Ramirez is 3, and she's 6th. And Sonia Bompastor has pretty much been the perfect success for Emma Hayes. And so far, so good for the Chelsea women. But I got to address this too, because this was just so terrible. So Sam Kerr, also of Chelsea, and her partner, Christy Mewes of West Ham, announced they're having a baby online. And they get so much hate from it from a lot of morons. Not just from their accounts, but from any other account reporting this. And good on Sonia. Bompastor, so unnecessary and just so horrible. And Kerr has pretty much closed off the comments from her account. Good on her, because there was so much vitriol and disgusting hate from that announcement. Like a new child's coming into the world, and they use it to voice their hate.
Yeah.
A rebrand, a tweak, whatever you want to call it.
Sure. This has gone over as you would expect.
I'm going to share the screen here for those who haven't.
Yeah. Basically, Tottenham has gone back to what they call a rebrand. So basically, it gets rid of the Tottenham Hotspur at the bottom of the cockerel and ball logo, goes to just the logo. They also have released it in 7 amazing colors, so you can do that. And then they've created kind of a marquee crest that's a stylized of the THFC put together, makes it look like they're trying to be the New York Yankees.
No, weird. So the chicken and the ball stays, but the Tottenham Hotspur woodmark goes. So
I mean, this is going over like you expect. Like a lot of people are saying, like if this is what you are focusing on, and you're not focusing on trying to actually win anything, like this is it's basically renewed a lot of calls for Levy out. So
in 1999, Japan redesigned its. What the heck is this?
Yeah, that's what I said, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they're trying to be the Yankees.
This just looks pretty ugly, in my opinion.
I'm happy that some marketing company and graphic designer got paid, because you know what? Sure,
it's minimal. But erase, done.
So there's that. That's the big news. Actually, that's not the big news. We should talk about Roberto Bentancur. In the summer, we remember when he was on duty with Uruguay. He made some comments about his teammate Son Heung-min with a reporter about that basically alluded to the fact that all South Koreans look the same. That went over exactly how you expected. It was universally condemned. Son came out and made remarks saying that, yes, Bentancur has apologized. I accept the apology, yada, yada. The Premier League said, well, we review this because this is against our anti-discrimination policies of you're going to take time. Now, it took a lot of time. It took a lot of time to come to this, but they have handed down a 7-match ban for what was deemed to be a racial slur in the summer. Tottenham is appealing. I should also mention part of this 7-match ban is a £100,000 fine and the requirement of mandatory face-to-face counseling. So he's not denying the action, he's denying the severity of the punishment. So they are appealing. We'll have to see what happens with that. Now, as the appeal process goes through, the punishment is not being withheld. So he is going to be banned for 7 matches while the appeal process happens. Means that he is not eligible to play until Boxing Day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty fair punishment, I think.
Yeah. You take a look with this sort of punishment, with the rules that have come into place, the punishment that you can expect is anywhere between 6 to 12 games. So he's kind of in the middle.
He's just in there.
The other thing is this does put him. I'm trying to look it up. I was looking up other bans. It was similar to it was an 8-match ban that was given to Luis Suarez back in the day when he had
bit Chiellini, or
no, it was
the racial comments against Evra.
Thank you. That was it. Patrice Evra.
I remember that.
Yeah. So it's kind of within that. Now I was looking up some stats. Kick It Out, the anti-racism foundation that puts out stat and also works with trying to stop discrimination in football, had some interesting stats, and they were saying that of the reports of racism that is aimed at specific players, 55% is aimed at players of an Eastern Asian background. 55%, which
astonishing.
I did not realize.
Yeah.
So, and it's again, like we're talking, and the number of player targeted racial abuses per season is in the hundreds. The one that they had here for the 2023-2024 season was 395 reports, and that was actually up by over 100 reported offenses from the previous season, which was only at 277.
Good
so in terms of this being an issue, it's getting worse. And it's, first of all, it's targeting everyone that does not look like me.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that it is, and one of the things that Kick It Out talked about is one of the reasons why it is seemingly to be disproportionately targeting players of an Eastern Asian background was to do with COVID and the association with players. Oh, we signed a player from this part of the world. Obviously, they're going to make everyone sick. So that is one of the reasons why they gave for why we're seeing a higher percentage targeting Eastern Asian players. But yeah, the fact that this is happening to a team member that
a member of
to me
team?
that
captain
make it look worse, but it does make it look worse in my mind.
It just makes it look terrible.
Yeah. Anyway, 7 games starts now. Starts for this weekend. Tottenham will be heading away to Manchester City. So have to deal with that. Now, Manchester City is not doing well. 3 games lost in November so far.
Yeah.
4 games if you want to include League's Cup, because that was against Tottenham.
Yep.
So that game was at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. This one's now going to be at Manchester City. We'll see if Tottenham can do it again, but they are going to be without a midfielder who does and says very, very stupid things.
She's the owner of the NWSL's Watched It Spirit, the Lyon Feminine French side, and London City Lionesses of Women's Championship in England. She has made the largest ever philanthropic donation to women's soccer ever, $30 million USD.
Yeah, so this 30 million is going to be over a 5-year period, and they're looking to basically create what they're calling 100,000 new opportunities for girls and women in soccer in the U.S. This isn't just players. This is players, coaches, referees, and down to the age levels of grassroots, as far grassroots as you can go. But it is, largest private donation for that in the United States. Again, this kind of, first off, $30 million is phenomenal, but it kind of reminds you a little bit in Canada of some of the stuff that Greg Kerfoot did for the women's national program in terms of, footing the bill for training facilities, footing the bill for different camps and whatnot. That again is on a much smaller scale, but this is big. This is significant. They're hoping that they're saying that they're hoping it'll transform the sport in the United States. I don't know if it's going to transform it. The United States,
but
I think
it takes a big
step on the front foot
towards it
when this is happening, but this is going to supercharge it.
Yeah. So good on Michelle Kang for this is a lot of money for the game. It helps grow the game, not right away. Yeah. But this is what you want to see from.
Basically, what they're looking at is going to double the number of national team camps that U.S. Soccer can run for the women's program across all age groups. And they're hoping that it will actually bring in 12 times the number of players into their whole youth national team setup.
Yeah,
so
that makes it even better.
They're really, really expanding. An additional 70,000 female coaches and referees as well. So good. Talking about more opportunities and more opportunities for women that come through that program to get jobs, not necessarily just in women's soccer, but soccer anywhere and everywhere.
Yep. And good on people like Michelle Kang for helping to grow the game.
Absolutely.
Even cooler news, San Marino, that little country, has won
lowest ranked team in FIFA.
Yep, has won their first ever road match, a 3-1 win over Liechtenstein.
Yeah. We should also mention it's their first multi-goal game in, I can't remember how many years, a long time.
Long time.
And it gets San Marino promoted to the third tier of the UEFA Nations League.
Yeah, well done.
So like how we have A, B, C, they're now in, I guess, what would be C, which is huge.
Huge.
Yeah. The country right now is ranked 210th. Of the 211 games that they have played, they've lost 199 of them. So
yeah, and this is a country like with a population, as I'm looking here, 35,436 according to the 2024 estimate. So that's less than the city of Vancouver.
Their manager, Roberto Savoli, managed a lot of like lower league Italian clubs before coming to San Marino. In his 10 games, he's now won 2, which that's actually pretty impressive for San Marino.
Yeah. And, just that the fact that they scored 3 goals was also pretty
I can't remember the last time they had a multi-goal game.
Yeah.
If ever. I can't remember, but yeah, there was a stat that did point that out. I just can't remember which way it was going. So the other thing we should talk about before we go, Pep Guardiola, the guy who said he's going to be going or he has to think about his life or whatnot. He has now signed a 1-year extension to stay at Manchester City for 1 more year, which will bring him up to 10 years with the club, I believe. There is also an option for an additional year.
So I think that will, if he picks up the option, that will be 10 years. It's close to
maybe that's it.
10 years. The Athletic and Fabrizio Romano have reported it, but I had a feeling it was coming into existence. I had a feeling it was inevitable because of this tweet from the legendary Liam Gallagher. And if you're not following Liam Gallagher on Twitter, whether you're an Oasis fan or not, he's one of the most entertaining guys on the app. And this is his reaction to Pep staying.
Yeah, like I said, I found out through the BBC, so I'm more old school traditional.
Yeah, and yes, Liam responds to random people.
There you go.
On football. So yeah, so Pep's here to stay for at least one more year, and he's won it all. He wants to win more. We'll see how Man City can do after the international break. Not much to say. Those who are hoping that Pep would leave, that dream is dead. He wants to continue the dynasty.
There you go.
Follow me on Twitter at JoshuaRay00. Nathan is at Enduric. Podcast is at Terminal City FC. And we're also, should mention, on Blue Sky. So if you've left Twitter because Elon has ruined it, I can't blame you. We're also on Blue Sky. The Blue Sky handles will be in the description. I'm Josh Ray, bsky.social. That's correct. And the podcast at terminalcityfc.bsky.social. So we're also going to be posting our thoughts, our opinions, our shows on there. No, we can't go live on Blue Sky. I think the app is not functioning for that yet.
Not yet. Right now, it's kind of like Twitter of old in terms of other options of how you're able to use it. We'll have to wait and see.
Yep, and we're also on Instagram, Terminal City FC Podcast, YouTube, Terminal City FC. We're broadcasting live there, and check out the shorts I've made. And yeah, that'll conclude this week's episode. Whitecaps will probably get some clarity on some offseason news in the next week or so.
Yep.
Canada women will announce their roster for their 2 friendlies tomorrow.
There you go.
And yeah, so hope you enjoy the rest of your day, night, whatever. Tell all your friends and family about our show.
Take care.